What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today I have 4 tips for you to improve your technique very quickly. I love fighters, athletes who when they throw a technique, let's say an uppercut, and if you did a frame by frame picture, it'd be like click, 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 click. It looks so amazing. That's what we want to do. When you throw techniques properly, you're going to have more force behind them and most likely going to leave less openings for counters. So today, 4 tips to improve your technique super fast. Today's episode is not going to be me breaking down techniques. I'm not going to be like, okay, this is how you should throw across. This should be in, that should be there. We come right down the middle. No, I want general things that work for all techniques and not just specific breakdowns of certain techniques. And many of the pointers I'm going to give you are things that I note when I watch beginners. If I see somebody at the gym who's hitting the heavy bag and I go, ooh, something's off there, it's usually one of these 4 things. And if they would just clean that up, wrap it up nicely, it would actually make their technique look so much better very fast. It does not take long to make these corrections. Once you're aware of them, that's pretty much all you need, and then hopefully you'll make the change and boom, the technique will look that much sharper. So let's start off and let's talk first about not letting body mechanics fight each other. And what I mean by that is very often, let's use a round kick for example to start with. Very often when I see people throw a round kick, I go, okay, they're extending through the hip properly. The right hip is in front, but the left shoulder's in the lead. And that is body mechanics fighting one another. If we go to throw a kick and our hip is moving forward, then the right hip and the right shoulder should match up. Everything throws together. And not doing this makes technique look terrible. If I throw my round kick like that, it just feels all wrong, but it looks even worse. And it's the same thing when you go to throw punches. If I go to throw an uppercut and this hand's moving out, but the shoulder's not rotating and I'm just kind of doing something like that, it's going to look terrible. So remember, whenever you throw a technique, stop. Think about sort of the chain of events happening. The foot moves, the hip moves, the shoulder moves. Or when I round kick, I pivot the foot, I lift the leg up, I do the extension, my shoulders follow. Everything, when you put a little bit of thought process into it about body mechanics, it should clear up everything for you so you understand that technique and you look so much better when executing it. My next pointer is to focus on the non-striking arm. And this will clean up your technique so much. If I see somebody on the bag and they're throwing in their hands down here or flaring out or doing whatever else, the little weird things that it might do, it's going to make you look so sloppy. It's so sloppy to see the other hand down low. But when the hand comes right back to the head, whether it's a punch, a knee, a kick, when that non-striking arm, and I do realize when we're throwing a kick, we don't actually have a non-striking arm, but we have one arm that should be tight to the head, one that extends out. When we throw a punch, one arm out, one arm super tight, being ultra aware of the hand coming back to your cheek, back to wherever you're going to hold it against your head, will clean the technique up so much. Plus, it makes you so much harder to counter, and I guarantee you, having your hand here when you throw punches at some point will save you from getting countered. Next up, I want to talk about utilizing the full technique. What do I mean by that? Well, let's say we're throwing something like a jab or a cross, or a jab cross. If my target could be way out here, this is my full technique. It looks proper. It looks strong and solid. But if I only throw to here and I'm doing short little shots, it does not look pretty. It does not look like something you will see a high level fighter execute, and there's a reason we generally do not do that. So think whenever you're throwing a technique, full range of motion, complete the technique all the way, and that means this last little bit. I could get to here, have that full extension, but not properly complete the technique because there's still a little more rotation that I can put into it. That extra little bit is what's going to really clean up everything. Same thing when I throw, let's say, a round kick. I could just come up like that, or I could get that extra little twist and really pop those arms into place to finish that technique and make it look as perfect as possible. This again is being very aware, having a lot of thought process into what the proper technique should look like, thinking about it and then executing, as opposed to just, I'm going to throw it and not really think about the details behind the technique. Slow down sometimes and just really think full technique all the way through. You do not always have to throw fast. You can go slow as well. You can take your time, really work on executing everything properly, and just make sure that when you go slow, it's perfect. And then when you go fast, it will hopefully follow along all that pre-work, that muscle memory technique, which you built through practice and practice and practice of slow-mo. And finally, I want to focus on rechamber being just as important as the extension. So what do I mean by this? Well, you could have the perfect technique, hand right from the head, nice extension out. You get that extra little pop at the end to really extend the technique fully to complete it. But then you kind of sag it back or you pull it back half speed and you're forgetting about the rechamber. People who throw techniques and everybody goes, wow, they just look so good executing. It's because they extend, but then the rechamber is just as sharp. Doesn't matter if it's hands or feet. When I snap, I get right back and I drop and I return to my stance as promptly as possible. If you guys put the focus on these 4 tips which I gave you today, you will clean your technique up so quickly. You'll be looking so much better, very, very fast. And as I said early on in the episode, looking better means you will hit harder and you will be that much more difficult to counter. And these are all things we want. And that is the full episode. That is everything I have to talk to you today about. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. If you have not already, join the channel, get subscribed, and train hard, guys. I will see you back here soon for another episode.